When we watch a Mars rover navigating a dusty crater millions of miles away, we assume the instructions keeping it alive must be incredibly dense and complex. But the reality is much more approachable. Languages like Python are designed to handle the tedious memory management behind the scenes, leaving developers free to write instructions that read almost like plain English. Before we break down how that logic works, take a second to subscribe to the channel and grab the study notes linked in the description so you can follow along. Mastering Python means moving past the memorization of machine-level instructions. You are simply translating human logic into a format a computer can execute. The foundation of that logic starts with variables. In some older programming languages, a variable is a rigid, fixed-size container, but in Python, it's a dynamic, named reference to a memory location. It automatically adjusts to hold whatever you put inside it. And the data you put inside comes in 4 basic flavors. You have integers for whole numbers, floats for decimals, booleans for true or false flags, and strings for text. A common friction point for beginners happens when taking user input. By default, anything a user types is saved as a string. If they type the number 5 and you try to add it to another number, Python throws an error because it sees text, not math. You have to explicitly wrap it in an int function to convert it to a usable integer. Strings also have a quirk when evaluated as a boolean. An empty string with absolutely nothing in it evaluates to false. But if you add even a single space, Python reads that space as a valid character, and it evaluates to true. Every piece of software ever written relies on manipulating these atomic pieces of information. Once you know how they behave, you can start snapping them together. When dealing with hundreds or thousands of variables, you need a way to organize them. A list in Python is an ordered collection that can hold multiple data types at once. You can have an integer sitting next to a string and even nest another list right inside it. To retrieve a specific item from a list, you use its index. Just remember the golden rule of indexing. Computers start counting at 0. The physical first item in your list sits at index position 0. But sometimes relying on numerical positions is too slow. Dictionaries solve this by abandoning the index entirely. Instead, they use a key-value pair system, mapping a specific label, like a student's name, directly to their data, allowing for instant retrieval without looping through an array. There is a strict constraint here. The values can be any data type you want, but the keys must be immutable. If you try to use a mutable structure, like a list, as a key, the system rejects it. A solid string or integer works perfectly. How you structure your data? Choosing between the ordered sequence of a list or the direct mapping of a dictionary dictates how efficiently your program retrieves information as it scales up. Once your data is structured, you need to isolate the operations you perform on it. We do this by defining functions. A function is a reusable block of logic that takes inputs, parameters, processes them, and returns an output. But functions have strict boundaries called scope. Variables floating out in the main program exist in the global scope. Any variable you create inside a function is trapped in a local scope. It cannot be accessed by the rest of the program. The only safe way to bridge this gap is by intentionally passing your global variables through the function's parameters. It enters the local box, gets processed, and a fresh result is sent back out. Because functions are reusable, they can even call themselves. This is called recursion. Pause the video for a second and try to conceptualize how you would use this to sort a list. Think about finding the smallest number, removing it, and then having the function call itself to do the exact same thing to the remaining items. By compartmentalizing code like this, developers prevent variables from colliding. This isolation allows massive teams to work on different parts of a software project at the same time, without overwriting each other's data. Let's apply these structures and functions to a real problem: encryption. The Caesar cipher is one of the oldest cryptographic methods, and writing it requires applying mathematical logic to strings of text. The programmatic approach is straightforward. First, you find a letter's numerical position in the alphabet array. If we look at H at index 7 and apply a shift value of 1, we land on I at index 8. But if your shift pushes you past Z at the end of the alphabet, your program will crash. You fix this using modulo math. By dividing the new index by 26 and taking the remainder, a shift that lands on 27 seamlessly wraps back around to index 1. Every algorithm, no matter how complex it seems on the surface, breaks down into these same basic components: data structures, math, and controlled loops. When simple, isolated functions are no longer enough to handle the complexity of a project, we move to object-oriented programming. Here, we create blueprints, called classes, to stamp out complex objects. Inside that blueprint, a special constructor function called _init runs automatically. Using the self keyword, it ensures that every single object generated receives its own unique attributes the exact moment it's created. This architectural thinking also applies to memory. If you try to load a massive, gigabyte-sized file into a standard script, your computer's RAM will choke. Robust programs read that data iteratively using a readline function, processing one chunk at a time to keep memory usage flat. Mastering this level of architecture and memory-conscious file management elevates a beginner script into enterprise-scale software. That scale is precisely why Python dominates the tech industry. In data science, basic lists and dictionaries are scaled up to parse and visualize massive datasets. In web development, functions and classes power the back-end logic of global frameworks. And because it allows rapid prototyping, it's the language driving real-world robotics and Internet of Things devices, all the way up to mission control. A dictionary becomes a database response. A function becomes an API endpoint. A class becomes the digital twin of a physical sensor. Because Python takes the heavy lifting of memory management off your hands, the language gets out of your way. Once you understand the rules of its logic, your only limit is the problems you choose to solve.